Today, I reversed every Formula 1 driver lineup based on the 2024 constructor standings to see what will happen. A little bit of an F1 experiment today. This means Verstappen and Perez, as they're in the Red Bull, they will be going down into the Alpine. It means Ocon and Pierre Gasly will be driving the Red Bull in 2024. If you're interested in content like this, hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends, join the Discord link in the description down below to give me some more video ideas on what I should do next. And with that being said, guys, enjoy the video. Alrighty, so here you can see the teams. We have George Russell and Lewis Hamilton and Williams. We have Ocon and Gasly driving the Red Bull, Logan Sargent and Alexander Albon driving the Mercedes. That's pretty cool. We got Zhou and Valtteri Bottas in the McLaren. They could be a title threat. Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso in the Haas. They're looking pretty good there. Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda driving for the Scuderia Ferrari. Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen are in the Aston Martin. We got Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen in the Alpine, the worst car. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc are in the AlphaTauri or Racing Bulls. And last but not least, we got Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris in the Steak car. Let me know who you guys think will win the champion. Round 1 in the opening race of the year was won by Yuki Tsunoda, as it looks like he had a drag race to the line, determining on the times there with Pierre Gasly, as it was under a 10th, which is kind of crazy. Must have been a last lap or last corner overtake, with Albon rounding out the podium in third, followed by Ricciardo, Ocon, Zhou, Bottas, K-Mag, Logan Sargent scoring points, you know, that's good for him, and Fernando Alonso in the Haas rounds out the top 10. Round 2 in Saudi Arabia was won by Esteban Ocon, and Pierre Gasly finishes P2. That was a complete and utter domination that we saw from Red Bull on this race here, with Tsunoda in third and Ricciardo fourth. Zhou was fifth, Bottas sixth. Pretty Noah's Ark right there, you know, same top 3 cars. Verstappen was seventh in the Alpine, so that's an incredible performance from him. Alonso's eighth, Norris ninth, and K-Mag rounds out the top 10. Round 3 in Australia was won by Daniel Ricciardo. He wins his home Grand Prix, love to see it, with Yuki Tsunoda in P2 and Albon rounding out the podium. Albon is looking like Mr. Consistent right now. We got Gasly and Ocon in 4th and 5th, and it seems like every race here is going to be pretty much track dependent, depending on how quick the cars are. Zhou's in 6th, Verstappen again in 7th. He just can't break that top 6. K-Mag 8th, Alonso 9th, and Logan Sargent again rounding out the top 10. The sprint race in Baku was won by Tsunoda, with Gasly and Ricciardo in P2 and P3. Ocon's 4th, Albon 5th, Bottas 6th, Verstappen scores 2 points in 7th, and Alonso scores a point to finish P8. The end of the race in Baku was won by Gasly, with Ocon P2, Ricciardo 3rd, Tsunoda 4th. Looks like the Red Bulls once again on the street tracks are looking fantastic. We got Albon again in 5th, with Bottas 6th and Verstappen in 7th. Zhou Guanyu 8th, Charles Leclerc, what looks to be in the worst car at the moment in the Racing Bulls. He scores 2 points to finish P9. That's huge for him. And Lewis Hamilton in the Williams scores points to finish P10. Heading into round 5 in Miami, Red Bull has a clear-cut best car, as you can see, with Ferrari 2nd and McLaren 3rd. Aston is in 5th, with Mercedes 4th. Alpine, Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo, and AlphaTauri or Steak and Racing Bulls, they're all in the bottom half there. They're trying to, you know, make their cars a little bit better to get up into the points, but then again, don't look too much into this, as I do a performance mod which has Alpine pretty much as the worst car. Heading into Miami, Pierre Gasly takes the lead, or he wins the race, with Tsunoda 2nd and Esteban Ocon 3rd. Looks like we're gonna have a great title fight between Ferrari, maybe Albon, and Red Bull. That'll be pretty cool. Zhou and Bottas finish 6th and 7th, Verstappen 8th, Fernando Alonso 9th, Perez in the Alpine, I think that scores his first points of the year, he's 10th, and look at that, Charles Leclerc P11. And at the end of round 5, here are the drivers and constructor standings. Gasly has a 9-point lead ahead of Tsunoda. Then we got Ocon in 3rd. Ricciardo's pretty solid for 4th here. Albon, like I said, he has been consistent. He's in 5th. Zhou's 6th, Bottas 7th. Verstappen in the worst car in the Alpine is in 8th. He's doing amazing. Alonso's 9th. K-Mag is 10th. Sargent's 11th. Lando Norris 12th. Tied with Charles Leclerc for P12. And I think Hamilton is the last one to score points. He's in 13th. Red Bull is winning the Constructors' Championship, with Ferrari 2nd and McLaren 3rd. Mercedes is in 4th, followed by Alpine, Haas, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo. AlphaTauri is P9, and Williams is in dead last. Race 6 in Imola was won by Pierre Gasly, with Albon getting a nice P2 and Tsunoda in 3rd. Daniel Ricciardo 4th, followed by Zhou Guanyu, Esteban Ocon, Bottas 7th, Fernando Alonso 8th, Max Verstappen 9th, and Logan Sargent again scoring points to finish P10. Here in Monaco, Zhou Guanyu in the McLaren gets his first win and McLaren's first win of the simulation. Maybe they'll start to have a good car sometime soon, with Tsunoda P2 and Bottas P3. Daniel Ricciardo, the one who runs these streets here, finishes 4th, followed by Albon 5th, Gasly and Ocon 6th and 7th, Sargent 8th, Verstappen 9th, and Alonso P10. Seems like Verstappen and Alonso are consistently getting points in these backmarker cars. The Spanish Grand Prix was won by Alexander Albon as he gets Mercedes' first win of the season. And look at this, you take Verstappen out of a Red Bull and other cars start winning. Kind of crazy. Gasly finishes P2 and Tsunoda's 3rd. Ocon is 4th, followed by Ricciardo, Zhou, Bottas, Sargent scores points again, Alonso P9, and Max Verstappen P10. In Canada, Yuki Tsunoda takes the dub as he finishes P1 with Ocon P2 and Ricciardo P3. Gasly's 4th, followed by Bottas, Verstappen 6th, and Perez 7th. That's huge points for the team. Russell's 8th, Charles Leclerc is in 9th, and Kevin Magnussen is P10. Huge race for a lot of the backmarker teams today. Heading into round 10 in Austria, Red Bull still has the pretty biggest margin here. They're still fastest car. McLaren's now apparently up to 2nd, and Ferrari is 3rd. Mercedes is 4th, followed by Aston 5th, Haas 6th, Alpine 7th, Williams 8th, Stake in 9th, and Racing Bulls is in P10. And in Austria, the sprint race was won by Albon with Gasly 2nd and Yuki Tsunoda in 3rd. Ocon's 4th, followed by Ricciardo, Zhou Guanyu, Bottas, and Alonso gets the final point. And after the race in Austria, Esteban Ocon comes out on top. He gets another win this year with Tsunoda P2 and Daniel Ricciardo 3rd. Zhou's 4th, followed by Gasly, Bottas, Alonso, Max Verstappen, Logan Sargent, and Oscar Piastri, I believe, scores his first points of the year in P10 in that state car. In the British Grand Prix, Yuki Tsunoda comes out on top with Albon in 2nd and Gasly 3rd. 3 different teams on the podium. You love to see it. With Ricciardo 4th, Zhou and Bottas 5th and 6th, Alonso 7th, Verstappen 8th, Lando Norris 9th, Sargent in P10. For the standings after the British Grand Prix, as Tsunoda now has a 20-point lead ahead of Pierre Gasly, and he's 60 points ahead of Daniel Ricciardo and 64 points ahead of Esteban Ocon. Looks like Ferrari now is the team to beat, hopefully. With Albon, he's still chilling in 5th, followed by Zhou and Bottas in 6th and 7th. Maybe they can make a title fight. They're about 100 points behind. Verstappen is 8th, Alonso is 9th, Sargent's 10th, K-Mag is in 11th. Crazy how Alonso and Verstappen are beating Sargent. They're in an Alpine and a Haas, and Sargent's in a Mercedes. That's kind of funny. K-Mag is 11th, Perez 12th, Russell 13th, Norris 14th. I believe we got Charles Leclerc in 15th, tied with Lando Norris. Hamilton is in 16th, Piastri 17th, Hülkenberg 18th, Stroll 19th, and I'm surprised about this. Carlos Sainz yet to score a point. He's in P20. The constructor standings look like this, with Ferrari on top, followed by Red Bull 2nd and McLaren 3rd, Mercedes 4th, followed by Alpine in P5, Haas P6, Aston Martin P7, Williams P8, Alfa Romeo P9, and AlphaTauri Racing Bulls P10. Hungarian Grand Prix was won by Alexander Albon with Zhou P2 and Gasly in 3rd. Another 3 teams on the podium. Bottas P4, followed by Tsunoda, Ocon, Ricciardo, Alonso, Verstappen, and K-Mag rounds out the points. The sprint race in Spa was won by Gasly with Zhou P2. I'm telling you, McLaren's making a comeback this year, and Esteban Ocon P3. Tsunoda's 4th, followed by Ricciardo 5th, Albon 6th, Bottas 7th, and Verstappen just nips the final point. After the Belgian Grand Prix, Gasly won the race. No surprise there, as the Red Bull is great in high-speed tracks, with Ocon P2, Zhou 3rd, Bottas 4th, Albon 5th, Tsunoda and Ricciardo P6 and P7. Alonso was in 8th, Hamilton 9th, and Lando Norris scores points to finish P10. In the Dutch Grand Prix, Alex Albon again comes out on top in that Mercedes. He's putting a pretty good fight to try to claw back and win the title. Who knows if he can do it. Gasly's P2, Tsunoda's 3rd. Another 3 teams on the podium. Man, I would love to see this in real life. Zhou's 4th, followed by Ricciardo 5th, Bottas 6th, Ocon 7th, Alonso 8th, Verstappen 9th again, and Logan Sargent in P10. Heading into round 15 in Monza, McLaren apparently now has the best car. Ferrari is now 2nd best, Red Bull's 3rd, Mercedes 4th. Then we got Aston, Haas, Alpine, Williams, Racing Bulls, and Stake in dead last. Here in Monza, Gasly takes the win again. He's having a pretty solid season with Tsunoda in P2 and Zhou P3. Albon's 4th, followed by Ricciardo in 5th, Bottas 6th, Verstappen 7th, or Ocon 7th, Verstappen 8th, Alonso 9th, and Russell rounds out the points in P10. Gasly is now leading the championship by 16 points after round 15 in Monza, with Tsunoda in P2. We got Albon in P3, telling you he is looking solid in that Mercedes. Ocon's P4, followed by Ricciardo P5, Zhou's in 6th, Bottas 7th, Verstappen 54 points in that Alpine P8, Alonso 44 points in the Haas in P9, Logan Sargent P10, K-Mag in the Aston Martin's doing really good. He's at 11 points. Perez is 12th. Lando Norris 13th, or George Russell 13th. Lando Norris 14th. Charles Leclerc still in 15th. Hamilton 16th. Piastri 17th. I don't know what's going on with Nico Hülkenberg. He's 18th and is not yet the scorer. Neither is Lance Stroll or Carlos Sainz. They are P19 and P20. Red Bull's now back on top in the Constructors' Championship with Ferrari P2 and McLaren 3rd. Albon is single-handedly carrying Mercedes there in 4th. Alpine 5th. Haas 6th. Aston 7th. Williams 8th. Alfa Romeo or Stake P9, and Racing Bulls or AlphaTauri in P. In Singapore, Albon comes out on top again, and I swear to you guys, he is making a title fight. And Fernando Alonso in the Haas, finishing P2. What a performance by Fernando Alonso. That is Haas's first podium ever, by the way. Bottas P3, followed by Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Perez in 6th, Gasly 7th, Ocon 8th, Sargent 9th, and Max Verstappen in P10. Here in the Japanese Grand Prix, Daniel Ricciardo wins, I believe, his 2nd race of the season. Good for him, with Yuki Tsunoda right behind him in P2. That's a 1-2 for Ferrari, and Alexander Albon P3. Bottas 4th, followed by Zhou 5th, Gasly 6th, Verstappen 7th, Ocon 8th, Alonso 9th, and Perez rounds out the points in P10. In Qatar, the sprint race was won by Tsunoda with Albon 2nd and Ricciardo 3rd. Zhou's 4th, followed by Gasly 5th, Bottas 6th, Alonso 7th, and Verstappen in P8. But after the race in Qatar, Albon wins the race with Ricciardo P2 and Gasly in 3rd. Alonso again in P4. He is carrying that Haas team. Oh my goodness. With Zhou P5, Russell 6th, Verstappen 7th, Perez 8th, Bottas 9th, and Lando Norris in the state car comes out in P10. And man, the AlphaTauri or the Racing Bulls that Leclerc and Sainz are in, they suck. At the sprint race here in Circuit of the Americas, Tsunoda is really making a title fight charge back here as he's won the sprint race in Coda, with Zhou in 2nd and Gasly 3rd, Bottas 4th, Ocon 5th, Albon 6th, Ricciardo 7th, and Alonso in P8. And Albon does end up winning another Grand Prix. He is doing so good this year in that car, with Albon in P1 in Circuit of the Americas, with Bottas P2 and Ocon P3. Tsunoda's 4th, followed by Gasly 5th, Zhou 7th, Hamilton 8th, Perez 9th, Ricciardo P10, and Max Verstappen rounds out the points. In Mexico, Yuki Tsunoda finishes P1, followed by Zhou Guanyu in P2 and Bottas in P3. Gasly finishes 4th, followed by Albon 5th, Alonso 6th, Ricciardo 7th, Verstappen to P8, Nico Hülkenberg finally scores his first points in P9, and Hamilton rounds out the points to finish in. After the Mexico City Grand Prix, this is what the drivers and constructor standings look like. Tsunoda 362 points, 5 points ahead of Gasly to finish in P1 so far, with about 3 to 4 races left. Gasly 2nd, Albon only 42 points behind in P3. Maybe he could come back. Ricciardo's in 4th, followed by Zhou in 5th. Ocon is in 6th. He's really letting Red Bull down. Bottas 7th. Alonso is in 8th ahead of Verstappen in P9 and Perez P10. Sargent's 11th, Russell's P12, Hamilton's 13th, K-Mag is 14th. Charles Leclerc, oh no, he's not in 15th. We got Lando Norris in 15th, Charles Leclerc's in 16th, Hülkenberg 17th, Piastri 18th, Lance Stroll, Sainz still have yet to score their P19 and P20. The constructor standings have Ferrari still on top with Red Bull P2 and McLaren P3. Mercedes is 4th, followed by Alpine P5, Haas P6, Williams P7, Aston P8. We got Stake in 9th and Racing Bulls in P10. Here in the Sao Paulo sprint race, Zhou Guanyu comes out on top. This is Brazil with Yuki Tsunoda in P2 and Alexander Albon P3. Gasly 4th, followed by Bottas 5th, Verstappen 6th, Ricciardo 7th, and Lando Norris getting a point in P8 in the sprint race. Wow. And at the end of the sprint race, Albon comes out on top again with Zhou P2 and Verstappen P3. Somehow, I don't know how this is possible, Charles Leclerc in the Racing Bull finishes P4. What a performance. Followed by Tsunoda P5. He just finished behind. Wow, that's crazy. Russell P6, Alonso 7th, K-Mag 8th, Ocon 9th, and Perez rounds out the points in P10. We're in Las Vegas. Bottas comes out on top. I mean, that's just such a Bottas thing to do, win in Vegas. With Zhou P2 and Gasly 3rd. Ocon's 4th, followed by Verstappen 5th, Tsunoda 6th, Ricciardo 7th, George Russell P8, Hamilton 9th, and Alexander Albon in P10. But heading into the final race, we're going to take a look at the standings one more time. It is a two-horse fight between Yuki Tsunoda and Gasly going into Abu Dhabi. Albon unfortunately cannot win the title. He's 35 points behind, but it is a 10-point difference between Gasly and Tsunoda. You'll love to see it. Zhou is actually doing really good this year. He's in 4th with Ricciardo 5th, Ocon 6th, Bottas 7th, Verstappen 8th, Alonso 9th, and George Russell rounds out the top 10. Perez is 11th, Sargent's 12th. Charles Leclerc after that P4 is in P13 with 16 points. He's almost beating a Mercedes. That's kind of crazy. K-Mag is in P14. In P15, we have Lewis Hamilton with Norris 16th, Hülkenberg 17th, Piastri 18th, Stroll 19th, and Sainz still has not scored. I'm very disappointed in his performance. Ferrari is 41 points ahead in the Constructors Championship. I think they're going to claim it next race in Abu Dhabi, but we'll see. Red Bull's P2, McLaren 3rd, Mercedes 4th, Alpine 5th, Haas 6th, Williams 7th, Aston P8, AlphaTauri P9, and Staker in dead last after that Charles Leclerc P4. Heading into the final race, you can see McLaren has the best car and Aston has the second best car, apparently. Red Bull's 3rd, followed by Ferrari 4th, Mercedes 5th, Haas P6, Alpine 7th, Williams 8th, AlphaTauri Racing Bulls P9, and Stake is last. And in Abu Dhabi, Yuki Tsunoda does end up clinching the world driver's title. Congratulations to him, with Albon winning the race, Tsunoda finishing P2, and Alonso getting another podium in the Haas, finishing P3. Bottas was 4th, followed by Hamilton 5th, Zhou 6th, Gasly 7th, Lando Norris 8th, Max Verstappen 9th, and Daniel Ricciardo falls off at the end of the year. He finishes P10. At the end of the championship, this is what the driver standings look like. Tsunoda had a 23-point lead ahead of Pierre Gasly, who was in P2. Albon almost pipped Gasly for P2. He was 3rd. Zhou finished 4th. Ricciardo 5th. Esteban Ocon P6, Bottas P7, Alonso, the star performer of the simulation, in P8. He was in a Haas. He beat Verstappen, who was in the Alpine, in P9. George Russell P10 in the Williams. Sergio Perez P11 in the Alpine. We got Lewis Hamilton P12 in the Williams. Logan Sargent in the Mercedes dropped down to P13. Charles Leclerc in the Racing Bulls finished P14. P15 was Kevin Magnussen in the Aston. P16 Lando Norris in the Alfa Romeo. P17 Nico Hülkenberg in the Aston Martin. Very disappointed on how Aston Martin performed this simulation. Piastri P18 in the Stake. He scored 1 point, and not to score a single point at all was Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz P19 and P20 in the Haas and AlphaTauri. So guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, let me know in the comment section down below as we run through the constructor standings, as Ferrari's on top with Red Bull P2, McLaren P3, Mercedes 4th, Alpine 5th, Haas in P6, Williams 7th, Aston 8th, AlphaTauri or Stake P9, and Alfa Romeo or Stake, they finished dead last. With that being said, see you guys next time.